going to talk to you today about slow motion. I've really been getting into slow motion, but it's like using it on the B-roll and stuff. It gives it like a really buttery, smooth feel. And this particular camera, the Sony HXR NX80, I've got it set in PAL. It does PAL or NTSC. NTSC, you get a few more. It goes down to 24 frames a second, whereas in PAL you get 25 and 50 and 100. So it does 100 frames per second at 100 megabits, which I think in NTSC it does up to 120 frames a second. I'm not sure what megabits it is, but I've not really looked into it. But I've got the camera set to PAL. No, I don't suppose there's any reason why I couldn't use NTSC. Yeah, because I'm only uploading it onto the computer and sticking it onto YouTube. I'm not using it for broadcast. I don't play it back through the telly. PAL, NTSC, doesn't really make any difference. Anyway, I've got this one set on PAL. It's got a function on here which is slow and quick. Now it does, in PAL anyway, it does up to 1,000 frames a second. I think in NTSC it's 960 frames a second. I'll show you that shortly, but you will notice that when you use the slow and quick button, the quality drops right down. It's pretty much a bit of a gimmick, I believe, because the quality is so, you wouldn't be able to use it, but put it like this. So 100 frames a second. I mean, I'm shooting it at 25 frames a second now, so if I shoot at 100, I can slow it down to 25%. I'm getting good quality, and I'm also getting like the really smooth slow motion. It doesn't, you know, if you get a picture of birds flapping their wings, it's not enough to sort of really see quite clear. But yeah, so I'll show you a few clips. This is at 100 frames a second, slowed down to 25%. So that was 100 frames a second. As you can see, the quality is still there. It's nice and smooth, and it just gives the B-roll that real nice buttery feel. So as I said, the camera's got slow and quick button. Now you can go into the menu and set it, or you can use the quick access button on the side. It's got a slow and quick button. You press it once, and you can press it twice, and you can go up and down through the shutter speeds. There's 250, 500 and 1000, and I think there might be some in between as well. I've not really delved into it. But here's a few clips. Hang on, not yet. Impatient. Here's a few clips at 250 frames a second. Now this was all done in camera, so you don't have to slow it down in post, you know, in editing. So this is 250 frames a second, slowed down by the camera, and this is what you're going to get. So that was 250 frames a second. As you can see, it's quite smooth. It does pick up a lot of the movement and everything, but you really do notice a drop in quality. So I probably wouldn't use that in any of my footage, to be honest, because you've gone from quite good quality down to pretty poor. But so this next clip or set of clips is at 1,000 frames a second, and again it's all done in camera, so you don't have to slow it down afterwards in editing or anything like that. It's all done for you. And here's 1,000 frames a second. You will notice that the quality's dropped right down. It's some of it, it doesn't even look like it's in focus, but it's quite good for just messing about with, I suppose. You can see the little droplets of rain that were coming down, and again, it's not footage that I would use in any production that I was doing. So I do think this side of it is a little bit gimmicky, but have a look and see what you think. So that was 1,000 frames a second. As you see, it does slow it right down. You know, really, you do get to see all the movements. You can see the little droplets of rain coming down nicely, but the quality is just not there. So to me, it's not usable. So I'll stick with 100 frames a second. I will look on the camera and see about using NTSC, because everybody raves about this 24 frames a second for the film look, but I mean, I'm filming at 25 frames a second at the minute, and I'm only vlogging. I'm not doing anything cinematic. I do like to get a nice little bit of B-roll, cinematic B-roll, if I can, but I don't suppose that one frame a second is going to make a lot of difference. But I will have a play with it, because on NTSC you can get 120 frames a second, so that might be a little bit better than 100 frames. So that's it for slow motion on this camera, the Sony HXR NX80. I can't remember the one, there's a one above it, which is a Z90, and there's one below it, which I can't remember what that was. But yeah, this particular camera, I probably won't be using the slow and quick function for any footage, but this just gives you an idea of what the camera is capable of. And I'm still learning all the time. There's loads of buttons and functions that this camera does, and I'm still learning it after having it for a couple of months. But yeah, if you like this video, please click the thumbs up. That all helps the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. And it's a bye for now.